Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is I think my third year in front of you with this bill. It's a pretty important bill to me personally, and what it is it's a anonymous two-way texting program that we're asking to be put in the schools for the boards of education. This bill requires each county board of education to establish an anonymous two-way messaging tip program. Establishing the purpose of the program, requiring each county board of ed to publicize the program, locations and venues, requiring the completion of victim bullying, harassment, or intimidation report form and provisions of certain transcript, certain thing. In essence, we're asking for the state to help us out with the schools as far as some major issues we have in the schools. Queen Anne's County was the leader in this bill. A few years back, we installed this system in the county, and it's given us we've reaped many benefits from it. What I've done is I brought two people today. One is Alvin Butler. Alvin Butler is the I guess the owner of this system and the person who's responsible for what it does and how it does it. And then when I put this bill out to the world and it got online, a young man by the name of Liam Kim picked it up in Montgomery County, and with his school system and his legislative board that they work on, they picked this bill as something they would like to support. And at this time, I'd like to maybe turn it over to Alvin Butler to give you a little idea on what the bill does and what the project is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Thank you. My name is Alvin Butler, and I've submitted written testimony, so I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of it. I'm the president of Text to Them and also the executive director of a nonprofit called Text to Stop It. We approached Queen Anne's County back in 2013 about using this technology that allows two-way text communication to be used as a anti-bullying program. At that time, Delegate Ahrens was president of the council, and they funded it, they approved it, and we are now celebrating our 4th year of this technology in Queen Anne's County. The way the technology works is that any student can text a keyword and a phone number, and on the other end there's a live person that they're engaged with, get all the information, perpetrators, whatever the case may be. And it was designed as a bullying program, but what happened is that we started getting text about drug situations, suicide situations. In fact, to date we've intervened in 7 suicide situations, one being a suicide pact. The other thing is that we've been able to expose drug dealers in half of the schools in which we're in Queen Anne's County. And I have to say that Queen Anne's County is considered a great school district. And so this has been a very effective tool to use, because this is the way kids communicate now. And so using this technology, we find that it's kids will open up to us and really start communicating. Currently, the bullying and harassment legislation calls for you to go to a website, enter the kid has to enter their name, provide information. This is the process. In other words, it's not anonymous. This is anonymous. The fear that the kids have is that being accused of snitching and things like that. So it's a very effective program. Let me just close by saying that we know for a fact that this program has saved lives in Queen Anne's County. We know it will save many more lives if implemented statewide. Students, parents, school administrators want and need the program, and we urge you to provide the resources to make it happen. In closing, I'd like to quote Brad Engel, the head of student services in Queen Anne's County, who told ABC2 News, and I quote, "Since we implemented this program, we have stopped a number of incidents of bullying and perhaps saved lives. How much is that worth?" End quote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kim.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the House Ways and Means Committee. My name is Liam Kim, and I'm a student in the Montgomery County Public School System. A mere 10 years ago, the first iPhone came out. But today, everyone essentially has some form of smartphone on them. They've become integrated into our culture and our very way of life. So why should the education not advance with it? Why should we trust the safety of our students to old and antiquated technology? Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death in teenagers. It's been estimated that for every completed suicide, at least 25 other attempts have been made. When asked why they tried to kill themselves, a lot of us cite bullying and harassment. Our constant degradation leads us to honestly believe that no one wants us and that we are useless in life. Many students I know lacked the means to report the bullying that they experienced, or thought that had they reported it, the bully would find out and it would only get worse. And that's not a risk that we were willing to take. All school systems were mandated to create and use the bullying and harassment form. This form was long, intimidating, and had to be submitted directly to a school's principal. Even worse, there were many students who didn't even know it exists. I know for the school that I go to, Wheaton High School, Montgomery County, no one knew about it until it was passed out with our class schedules earlier this year. We need a solution to help solve this that doesn't require such a search for such an elusive form. Our educational system places safety above all else. When our parents drop us off at school every day, they trust that the school will keep us safe. However, as long as bullies go unchecked, our school systems will never be safe. And while it may be impossible to stop all bullying, we have to do everything that we can to catch those who do. And to best do this, I believe we have to take this 21st century approach to this issue. Pretty much everyone I know has one of these in their pocket. This device can send and receive messages instantly, present news as it happens, and even stream live footage to millions of people. If we can use this tool to do so much, then why can't we also use it to report bullying? The bill before you today would do just that. It would give so many students the ability to report bullying immediately. It would give them an instantaneous lifeline to end their suffering, one that is always available and doesn't rely on giving someone a paper form. And I understand that the cost for this bill is rather high, but I believe that it's a cost that must be paid. Already in Queen Anne County, as you've heard, 7 students have been saved because of this tip line. And that's in just one county. Imagine how many other students, how many other lives that we can save simply by making this program a statewide program. I believe that this is the way to guarantee a better future, and I thank you all for your time and urge you to vote in favor of House Bill 669. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Very excellent testimony.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, John Willems representing the Maryland Association of Boards of Education, here today testifying in opposition to House Bill 669. I want to stress that MABE's opposition to this bill is in no way intended to reflect on any analysis of the merits of the product being described by the proponents of this legislation. And it actually, in the 3 years that the bill's been considered, sounds like a relatively innovative and effective tool as described by the proponents and the service provider. That said, the bill is both a policy mandate, really a strategy mandate that school systems address bullying by adopting the strategy provided by the anonymous two-way texting product and service, and then it's a procurement mandate that we procure a specific service to address the issue of reporting bullying incidents. And again, it's a tool that's available to school systems to procure, and I think the pilot is an appropriate way to proceed. We've seen that work in other areas. For instance, everything from defibrillators to other new technologies, providing school systems an opportunity to understand and appreciate the value of those technologies and services has proven to be effective in the past. But that said, we would certainly continue to strongly oppose a bill to mandate the procurement of a specific product or service and a specific strategy to addressing what is, of course, the very important issue of bullying and harassment of students in the school setting. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Lukey.
School safety is big, you know that, for me. And I'm looking at your testimony. I knew Mabe was going to oppose. Sometimes I wonder why. I can understand the single source contracting, but I'm looking at 2 things here that concern me. One says, if you use this program in the state of Maryland, we're talking about at $1.25, it'd be $1 million. $1 million, right? In my school system alone, it costs $1.6 billion to operate the system. So before I go with this other one, if this price tag were lower, let's suppose this price tag, if they were willing to negotiate a price and you were able to get it for, let's say, $600,000, would Mabe still oppose?
Yes.
Okay, and opposing, and I'm wondering if we're all in this together. Keeping kids safe is something that we're all involved in, from your PTA to your teachers to your parents to Mabe to everybody else. You know, we started the Center for School Safety specifically for that, for best practices. It seems like we're always behind. And what I don't like, and I give credit to my chairwoman, Kaiser, when we had cyberbullying, we realized we were a little bit behind it, and we caught up in a hurry to address it. I don't want to hear about something that we could have done that helped out instead of, us having to catch up. Technology is always evolving, and I say that because I look at your letter of opposition, and you talk about the adopted regulations to address bullying in 2003. And then it says all students, I'm not going to read it to you, but at the end of it, it says the adoption of this language was controversial and took several years to complete. Why is it controversial? We talk about keeping kids safe, trying to do the best we can for safety. So it's similar to what Delegate Lukey asked a little bit. Get rid of the sole source contract, whatever. What can I feel as a parent and as a legislator make me think that, okay, Maryland is going in the right direction towards allowing these students to use their phones to report somebody? Because that's what they all do. I stay in touch with my daughters at school, my son, through a cell phone. What are we doing to keep our kids safer, to have something like this?
Well, Delegate, two answers. One is that while the state law may have needed updating related to cyberbullying, the local practices did not. So those practices were in place. And so, the law often is falling behind technology and practices. So school systems have been addressing cyberbullying for, I would say, a decade. And then as to the implementation of, well, as to the controversy was actually, that actually relates to adding sexual orientation as a basis for harassment and bullying. And so when the issues of defining what a safe school is and means to students was being deliberated by the State Board of Education, it did, perhaps rather sadly, but it did take them several years to work to accomplish the updating of the definition of a safe school. And then lastly, it's a procurement issue. Each school system is administered by their superintendents or CEOs, governed by their local Board of Education, and procurement is even, I think, a more specific subset within that local governance arena that is and should remain entirely up to the local school system.
Well, isn't that more reason why we need to do this? I could debate some of the facts you gave about the cyberbullying, because I was on the education committee at that time. It was not easy, as you can recall. But isn't that the reason why we should pass a bill like this, to say, you know what, because it's so easy for the local school systems to say we're not going to invest $1 per kid, which is embarrassing. But because it's too easy for them to say, oh, it's got a cost, we don't want to do it. Isn't that the reason why we pass legislation like this? To say, you know what, if you all don't see the good in it, maybe we see the good in it, with your opposition, to adopt this and to get you all at the table to do something about this.
Just for a point of order and clarification, you've stated several times that the bill would require each local jurisdiction to purchase this specific technology. But I don't necessarily get that from the bill. What I read in the bill is that it would require local municipalities to have some type of anonymous two-way texting capability for their students. Do you agree with that statement or no?
Yes and no, because that's what the bill says, but after now 3 years of the bill being heard and the question and response earlier this afternoon, it was shared with the committee that this is a sole source product and service, and it is patented. And
yeah, I mean, he has a patent, but that still doesn't restrict a school district from utilizing another two-way texting technology and creating an anonymous component built into it. I just wanted to be very clear that the way the bill is written, for myself, my knowledge, as well as the committee's knowledge, because you stated it several times, that if this bill was to pass, it does not tell each jurisdiction throughout the state of Maryland that they must use the technology that was presented to us today. It just says that they must have a texting technology set in place that is set up anonymously for its students. Do you understand what I'm saying or no?
yes.
So I just wanted to be very clear. So is that your understanding as well? It does not specifically say that the jurisdictions would have to purchase the technology from the corporation we just heard from prior to you. It just says that it has to have that functionality in place for its students.
No, that's not my understanding.